This is the clutch arm from a 1960 BSA C15, and it is broken. Not the arm itself, but this little cup right here that is got a cotter pin holding it to the clutch arm. Your clutch rod that pulls apart your clutch pack comes all the way through the cases and fits right in there. This end is bolted into the case and there's a pivot right there. Your clutch cable engages this part of the arm, and as you pull your clutch cable in, the arm does this, pivots, and pushes your clutch rod in. Your clutch rod sits in the end of this little cupped bit right there, and this one has a big chunk missing out of the side of it. I think you can see that pretty clearly. And here's the chunk right here. So I was pulling in my clutch lever. My clutch lever went straight to the handlebar and didn't pull apart the clutch pack. Everything in the primary side I had rebuilt, so I knew something was wrong. I pulled this apart and discovered that chunk missing, and so the clutch rod was able to just slip out of that cup, and it wasn't being engaged by the arm. I've read some clever bits online about how people have fixed this problem, and I'm going to follow the lead of some other folks who've done this, but I'm going to document it with this little video here. We're going to recreate this plunger bit, but we're not going to use a cupped plunger. We're going to have a flat face on our plunger, and it's going to have a little hole in the middle with a ball bearing in it. So the ball bearing will press directly on the clutch rod, and as the arm actuates, it'll roll back and forth slightly on the face of the clutch arm. Also, we're going to use a slightly larger diameter. This is a 1/4 inch diameter linch pin, and I'm starting with this because it already has a hole drilled through it, and the beefier diameter will make this a more robust part, and I won't have to deal with this problem again. The idea is to carve a groove on this end that has the hole in it to engage the arm like this piece here. And this piece here is being held on with a cotter pin. And I don't know if that's stock or not, but that seems awfully wimpy to me. I'm going to replace it with a small steel rivet, and I'm going to mushroom the end of that rivet, but I'm not going to tighten it all the way so that that piece is snug on there. I just want the rivet to hold it to the arm, but allow this to wiggle back and forth slightly. Then we'll determine exactly how long it needs to be. We'll cut it flush. We'll drill a hole in the end, and we'll drop a ball bearing in the end of in that hole, and then we'll put little divots on either side of the ball bearing to hold the ball bearing in that hole. And the ball bearing will stand just a little bit taller than the face of the plunger. So the divots on either side of the metal will hold that ball bearing in there so it won't fall out when you disassemble your motor or just take off your outer clutch plate or outer timing side cover, And as this arm actuates, that ball bearing will roll back and forth over the face of the clutch rod. That's a kind of a similar arrangement to the way roller rockers work. If you've ever worked on an old hot rod motor, the roller tipped rockers have a little rolling ball bearing that runs over the head of the tappet valve instead of just pushing on it and rubbing it and causing a little bit of friction. So this will reduce friction, but the idea is not to increase the performance of the motor. This really won't increase the performance of the clutch all that much, but the replacement part should outlast the stock piece by a good margin because there's no pressure being put laterally on it. The ball bearing should just roll back and forth on the head of that clutch arm. And the clutch arm should last a little bit longer too, but we'll see. So that's the plan, and I will update you when I start carving a chunk out of that and then walk you through all the steps.